Hey there, Amplifiers. Welcome to Growth Amplifiers Live. Kenny Harper here with Manny Torres, and I'm out actually down in Orlando, Florida. Manny's keeping the fort up there in Jacksonville, Florida. And if you're tuning in now, we've got a great session, which we'll be sharing some great content. It's going to be how to stay focused on the top priorities when your business is hectic. Now, let's be honest. Business is hectic, right? There's a lot of different things going on. You got to wear many different hats, manage teams, service clients, keep the administration going. There's a lot of stuff to do, and it can be very hectic. But if you're wanting to move your business forward and really achieve your vision and serve your mission, you've got to be focused. So let's start chatting about this today. Manny, you can go ahead and lead us off with, what is the big idea here? That is obviously the title. By the way, if you're tuning in now or during the replay, go ahead and put in your comments or questions. We'll respond back to them in an upcoming segment and make sure that we're getting back to you on that.
All right. So the big idea here is that you've got to focus on the right actions to achieve goals and objectives. And not only just in good times, but also in hectic times. And I think it's almost more important to be able to have that ability to push everything else away and focus on those things, even when things are crazy in your business.
That's, I think, the understatement of the year. I was talking with a business owner that was in that whitewater, going through the turbulent times, and they were saying, I just really don't have time to stop to work on my business and work on these things. I said, well, the things that we're talking about working on are the priorities that would help improve your business and resolve further problems, right? So think about that. It's like if you ever read the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know you have, Manny, right?
Right.
Do you remember the story about sharpening the saw?
Right. If you had to cut down a tree, you'd spend 80% of the time sharpening the saw before you go to cut down the tree.
Yeah, and it'd be silly if you were to try to start sawing down the tree with a dull saw because you're trying to get the job done. But take the time to sharpen the saw. So let's progress this conversation forward. This is the big idea. And click, my slide button's not working. So what? So why is this important?
So this is important because with focus, you're going to be able to develop a habit of working on your priorities. And by working smarter, as Kenny just mentioned, you're going to be able to ensure that you can avoid common pitfalls and improve your chances of success.
Now, I like the fact that you've got habit highlighted there, because at the end of the day, it's not, trying to find this amazing cure-all solution that's just going to magically solve all your problems. It's about mastery, self-mastery, business mastery, and that only comes with practice and really having the disciplines to build the right habits and working on the right priorities, putting your time on the right things. Every business owner, from the super successful ones to the ones in the middle and to the ones that are just running into challenges, everyone has the same amount of time. It's how we use the time that makes the difference. And when you develop the right habit to focus on the right priorities, that's how you can become more efficient and effective, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we're in the middle of the Olympics right now. And one of the things that most people don't realize is that the great athletes, they're not great because they can do something amazing. They're great because they're very consistent and they don't make a lot of mistakes. So it's not that they're so much further ahead in terms of the great things that they can do, but they're just so consistent, and they get that way by the habit of working on those fundamentals, consistently coming to the table, working on those day in and day out, so that it becomes automatic for them. They don't even have to exert a lot of energy to think about what they're doing.
Right. So think about the person that has this mindset, right? Oh, I already know this. Yeah, I'm already familiar with this information. I'm good there. Where's the challenge with that?
I think a lot of times when you get into that mindset, you don't realize that maybe some things have changed. Maybe you think you've got it, but you don't have it in action. And if you're not getting results, you really need to go back and look and say, maybe I know that, but do I understand it? And am I implementing it into my business the way that it's supposed to be used?
And furthermore, who can improve? Everyone can improve. So if you have a mindset that I'm already doing good, I can't improve, or there's not someone that could help me improve, or I couldn't get better at something, then you're blocking your own success, and that is horrible. I like that story you shared in many mastermind sessions about our good friend Pegeen. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, because you were there to experience it, that was a great takeaway.
Yeah, so Begin's got a lot of incredible stories. She's very energetic. She can really drive a lot of engagement from her audiences. And one of the things that she talked about is always like breaking those glass ceilings, right? And as a women professional speaker, there's a lot of glass ceilings that she had to break. But one of the things that she came over was her mindset around what she charged on her speaking fee, right? And every time that she would get that fee that she had set as a new goal for a high fee, she would go ahead and look to break it and push it further. And one of the ways that she was able to do that is by always reaching out to other professionals, the ones that were top in their game, and really seeing what was working for them, what their mindset was, and how she could implement that into what she was doing so that she could continue to improve and improve each and every day.
I love that story, but actually that wasn't the story I was referring to.
A lot of great stories.
Yeah, Begin's awesome. I was actually referring to the one where it's like, how dare you get in that mindset? Because someone came in with I think I kind of already know this stuff.
Right. And, I think it's easy for us to do that. And I think you need someone that's outside of your kind of inner circle or outside of just you to be able to recognize and call that out. Because a lot of times we don't see it ourselves, and it takes that third party to acknowledge that and bring your attention to it.
It's either we don't see it or we won't admit it, right? Which kind of like dusted under the corner. We're easy to fool ourselves. So let's start talking about solutions, because at the end of the day, that's the challenge. Now, what do we need to putting into action in order to make sure that we're staying focused? Because I see it all the time. There's people tell me my business is too hectic. I don't have time to get the things done that are important. Our business is different, right? So let's start with this.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah, definitely. Number one, you've got to have that clear vision of success. Again, going back to the Olympics, these athletes didn't get to the Olympics by not being sure what they were trying to accomplish, right? They all had a clear understanding of what they wanted to do and what success looked like.
Right. So have a clear vision, which I'll have to give a shout out to my good friend, Mr. Larry Olson, his wife, Diane. This is his book, Get a Vision and Live It, Becoming Prosperous Now for Life. And I just got done reading it. I'm at the very end, actually. And, when I got the book, I've got to admit, the thing crossed my mind. I've been through a lot of trainings on vision. I kind of get vision. But as he shared early on, it's not about teaching you brand new concepts that maybe you've never heard before. It's about just the little modifications, the little tweaks, sometimes just refreshing or giving you a little paradigm shift so that you could show up a little stronger, a little brighter, and get more traction in the things that you're doing. And what I really liked about his approach, which, by the way, if you want a copy, you can go to Amazon. I'm sure you can get a copy, or you can go to apernio.com. And what I liked about his book is at the end of each chapter, he has like the little reflection questions, and really gets you to think about how you can actually apply the information. And I don't have time to cover everything in the book, but when it talks about getting a vision, I'll just walk you through a little bit of the process that he has that I thought was worth sharing. So the first thing you got to do is define the area you want to target, right? You have different areas of your life, whether it's your business, your finances, your health, and define where you're at now, right? Where you're starting from, and then where you want to go. But then when you're developing your vision, you want to make sure that you're focusing on what you want, why you want it, and having it energize you in a way that's bold and compelling, right? And not get caught up in the how. Part of our business growth cycle really gets into creating strategy, creating action plans, setting goals. But at first, when you're developing the vision, don't get caught up in the details. I remember, Manny, when we were writing our first book, Amplify Your Business, that was the first thing we had people do, is to develop a bold vision. What has been your takeaway since we've authored that book a few years back?
I've heard a lot of people say that it helped them because it took what was a vision and then added the bold to it, which is really great in terms of changing it from something that you're just thinking is out there to something that's really personal to you, and that, as you mentioned, energizes you. And through the different conversations that we've had with clients and people that we've connected with that have read the book, that part of it's really been what inspires people, is because it's something that touches their personal life and their business and brings it all together. And it's something that every day they wake up and they're excited to do the work and do the things that they need to do to achieve those goals that they want to achieve.
Yes. I can recall one of the things that I thought was really cool is just asking someone, what is your bold vision? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what is it that you really want to create? What is your vision of where you're going? Can you guess what the number one answer was?
I don't know.
All right. So people are working really hard. Maybe they're taking classes. They're getting up every day. They're doing a lot of things. They don't even know where they're going. I think we've all been there from time to time. So if you're tuning in now, the thought for you is define your vision. Define it clearly, define it compelling, get excited about it. It should wake you up in the morning, and you should be jazzed to amplify your day, knowing that you're moving closer, staying focused on that vision. And just to share, it's the clarity of knowing what you want really helps you get to where you want to go. Really specific, really focused, really clear. And then work out the details of how you'll get there later. All right, so Manny, let's move on to number 2, which, by the way, I think I just shared that on screen. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear. Just put them in the chat, whether it's through the live or on replay. We'll go back and look at our comments from time to time, and we might feature them in an upcoming episode or on our podcast or on Growth Amplifiers magazine.
All right, so moving on to number 2, once you've got that clear vision of what success is for you, you want to be able to assess to know where you're currently at. So you know where you're going. The next step, we want to know where you're at now so that you can start to develop that roadmap of how you're going to get there.
Right. And, I kind of snicker a little bit because I look at the takeaway here, and it kind of looks like asses to know where you currently are. I think the R went away. But, I was thinking about that. It's like either A, you're going to look at things and assess, or B, you might as well be an ass, right? Because what are you doing? You want to know where you're at once you know where you're trying to go, because that's how you find your way someplace. You've really got to see what are the strengths that you have, what are the weaknesses you have, what are the bottlenecks that are holding you back. And then you could really put focus on taking the right actions to consistently, predictively move you towards your vision. And this would probably be a good time to share that we've got an assessment. So we do have an assessment, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So if you're checking in this live, this is one of the things that has been really helpful. I mean, we do talk with thought leaders from around the country, who are successful business owners, and we have them fill out this form. And this is really helpful because it helps them to just start looking at different areas of their business and starts to help them maybe think of things that they hadn't thought of before, seeing where the strengths are and where some areas are for improvement. And Manny, why do you think that would be so valuable?
Well, I think it's always helpful to have those outside perspectives. And as you mentioned, sometimes there are things you've thought of, but sometimes there are things that you haven't thought of or that you forgot about. And by going through that assessment, you can start to gauge and say, oh, there are some opportunities here, or I definitely can say that this has been something that slowed me down. And if you can improve on that, that can accelerate your business moving forward, because a lot of times those bottlenecks are the things that are really holding you back. And once you release those, you get that growth that you've been looking for.
Right. You got to know what are the things that are holding you back. We were working with a client who is a multi-million-dollar company. They've got a lot of team members, and they've got a lot of different projects going on, very detailed. It's like a whirlwind. There's all this stuff going on, right? And they're having trouble knowing where to put the focus. They have goals, they have things they're trying to achieve, but they don't know where to focus on, right? So they had to take a step back and assess. Let's look at everything. What do I need to focus on? Which one thing that if I solved would make everything else easier or not even needed? And that's actually the focusing question from The One Thing. It's a great book. I think we've talked about that on this podcast before.
Several times, yes.
Several times, yes. We've actually had a debate over it, and I think I won.
No.
Yes, we had the audience actually voted in, and that was the one that won.
Agree to disagree.
So that's what we challenge you to do, is assess where you're at. And you could do this with your team. You could do this with a facilitator. You could fill out our form, and this will give you a score and again help you see some areas that you can put focus to that would help you improve.
One thing I like to add, sorry to interrupt there.
No, you're good.
To add to that is, it's not only that you want to assess yourself once, right? This should be something you're doing periodically, because as you start to release those bottlenecks, you start to make progress. You may overcome one challenge, but what that's going to do is start to expose new ones. So by having that assessment as that baseline, you can start to identify where you're at. And then as you progress and move forward, you can start to see, hey, this is putting stress on another part of the business. Now we see what's the next part that needs to be worked on. So you can periodically come back to that.
That's perhaps the number one thing that's challenging most of the business owners that we chat with and engage with, is they're focusing on the wrong thing, or they're trying to do too many things, which is kind of focusing on the wrong thing. There's not enough focus on the most important thing that would help them move forward. And how do you solve that? You assess where you're at and you prioritize. So I know obviously we're prompting this form, but there's different ways you can assess your business. And the reason I like our form is because it might get you to think about things you hadn't thought of before, and you get a score for it. And then you can work on improving it, which will help you. All right, so let's talk about the third step here. Number 3, how do you stay focused?
All right, so you mentioned it just a second ago. We want to strategize an action plan with accountability. So know what actions you need to take and prioritize those. And then you've got to have some accountability, because just knowing those actions doesn't mean you're going to get them done. You want to make sure that you've shared those with your team, with your mentors, with your coach, with whoever it is that you need to stay accountable to, and obviously yourself, so that you can take those actions and make progress.
Right. So it's great to have the assessment score, because you'll get to see the areas that you can put focus on that should be your priority. But if you don't put it into a plan, if you don't write it down, if you don't take action, then it's not going to change. And I've unfortunately talked to too many business owners that say that they're going to be working on something, and then you might see them a year or so later, and they're still talking about working on that one thing, and they haven't moved it forward. And it's easy to do. We all get busy. Now, it may not have been the thing that they actually needed to move forward. So I'll give them that, right? It was just a project or an idea that they had. But a lot of the times there's people are kind of like just stagnant, stuck in a spot. They have a challenge that they're dealing with. They're getting tired and frustrated. They can't get their team in alignment. Maybe they're rehashing the same meeting over and over, quarter after quarter, wondering why they can't get past it. And they're trying to work harder, but that's not the solution. It's not working harder. It's changing the action to get to a new area. So that's why it's important that we actually strategize. Think about, all right, here's the things that we need to improve on, and put it in a written plan, and then have some accountability to make sure it gets done. So I just specified there, many written. What is it? Is it okay that if you kind of wrote it down in a journal somewhere, you have a goal? Is that okay? Does that work? What do you think?
Well, I think if it's something that you're not looking at on a regular basis, it's going to be easy to fall out of mind. So you want something that you're seeing consistently and that you're working on. And you mentioned having that plan mapped out. And you and I have talked about this with our own action plans. The ones that we've done the best with are the ones that have been very detailed in terms of what we're doing each week. Because when we don't have that clarity, it's easy to just get lost, or by the time it comes around, you don't know what to do and you spend a lot of time spinning your wheels. So the more clarity you can build on that plan, even if it's just for the upcoming weeks, that's going to help you actually implement those plans and do the actions that are going to lead to results.
I like it. There's a new client that I'm working with, Pinpoint Profitability, Mr. Lee Breckner out of Katona, New York, which happens to be where my grandmother lived. I used to go up there a lot. It's a beautiful place. And he's a really good accountant, bookkeeper. He's been in business for some time, has clients, but he was trying to build his advisory practice, trying to get more advisory clients, differentiating himself in the market, elevating the value that he provides to his clients. And one of the things that I shared with him is the book, The One Thing. And he started looking through that and just really thought how valuable it is to just step back and really focus on one thing at a time. Because we kicked off this Power Day. We did an Amplified Power Day. And we're like, all right, this is going to be your game plan for attracting more leads and seamlessly and subtly guiding them to become clients that pay, stay, and refer. And he was really excited about it. But then he looked at the list of things to kick it off. A little bit of overwhelm started to creep in. And we said, that's why this action plan, you start each little action is just focus on one step at a time. Which by the way, this is one of our journals. You got one?
I do.
Yeah. So
there.
Yours is a little different than mine. I think mine's the beta.
Right. Got a few of them.
Yeah, we got a few of them. But this is kind of like getting your ideas down, writing them down, as Manny mentioned just a moment ago. It's one thing to just write a goal down and then say, that's kind of what I'm working on. But when you focus and write out your action plan, so you know that this is what I'm going to do this quarter to move my vision forward, and you break it down, okay, now this is what I'm going to achieve this month to be successful this quarter. Then you break it down, this is what I'm going to get done this week to be successful this month, and then all the way down to the day. So this journal focuses, like, each day you're going to be looking at what are you going to get accomplished that day that's going to help you move your rocks and goals forward, and then assesses at the end, how did you do and how can you improve? And the transformation that discipline and habit can have for you and your business is tremendous. Well, I didn't have enough room there. Tremendous. All right. Bring it back in, Manny.
Yeah, I like what you said there. It ties into what you were saying previously about sharpening the saw. It takes a little bit more effort on the front end to make that plan. But then what it does is, as you're actually implementing that plan, your energy level to do those actions is much less. And that's when you need to be able to have less effort, because the day-to-day hectic, you don't need to be trying to figure out what you're doing. You just look at your task list and you say, I just got to knock out this one little thing. Doesn't take a lot of energy to think about it. Just knock it out. And you're not trying to figure out that huge plan each week. You just do that once, and then you're implementing it as you go.
I love it. And I must say, I can attest to this. When I first got into business, it's been I guess a decade since I left the agency and started my own first business as a freelancer. I didn't even know if I was going to stay as a freelancer. I was just like, I'm just going to tip my toe in the water, see how it is, and see where it goes. I didn't have a vision. I didn't have a plan. But as we've dialed in and really become strategists and goal setting, we're continuing to grow and improve year after year in our own terms. I'm out enjoying a trip with my family, having fun. Although I'm tuning in for this podcast, it is something that I enjoy doing. I don't work. I get to live my vision, live my life. And I thought that was a cool shout out, which is kind of full circle, all what Larry's book's about. So that is the takeaway. Let's go over the big three real quick from a recap. Make sure that they're all there. Number one, have a clear vision. It's got to be written out. It's going to energize you. The clearer it is, the more you can see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, get excited about it, the more likely you'll stay on course. Once you have a vision, you kind of got to assess to know where you're at. What are some of the things that you have that you could leverage? What are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the bottlenecks holding you back? That's going to give you an idea of what to prioritize in your action plan. We haven't talked about it a lot, but you want to have the accountability. And why is that so important with the accountability?
Because the easiest person to let down is yourself. But that's why it's so hard for us to finish things, because we always come up with excuses or rationalizations for why we don't do things. But if you have that accountability in there, it's going to ensure that you take the actions that you say you're going to take.
Yes, we've talked with CPA firms that have all their clients' taxes done, but then they don't have any time working on their own business. I've had bookkeepers that have everyone else's books caught up, but they don't have their own. We've had business brokers that are servicing their clients, but they haven't put the time to work on their own marketing, and they don't have enough clients. So you got to put on your mask first. All right. So last slide of I think you have one more, maybe. So this is the thing we were plugging earlier. This is a free assessment. It's a short assessment. I mean, you really just kind of grade yourself on 20 different statements. You'll get an amplified business score, but it'll help you identify holistically and just a snapshot of kind of where you're at, give you a score with some areas that you can improve, and also comes with like a guide of how you can actually improve each of those areas. This is a way of how we serve our mission, and I think it's one of the coolest things we've launched. And so that is what we've got. Again, we'd love to hear what you have to say. So if you have any ideas that you thought you'd like to share, or any questions, please go ahead and comment them in. We'll be checking comments and questions at a future point. Any final thoughts, Manny?
One of the things I like to say with the assessment is sometimes people look at it and they say, oh, wow, maybe I scored low, and they feel bad about themselves or their business. But the way that we look at it is we say, wow, look at all that opportunity. So don't have any anxiety about taking those assessments, whether you're doing well or whether you're just getting started. It's great for you to know where you're at so that you can improve, and just look at it as an opportunity to elevate and amplify your business.
Wonderful. Love it. So next week we're tuning in Dr. Jean Auersler, and she's going to be talking about her approach to getting the mind in tune so you can actually achieve the things that you're looking to achieve. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you joining us, and make sure that you go to actually sign up. I almost forgot to plug this one. Sign up for Growth Amplifiers notifications so that you can stay tuned and get the regular updates. I'm going to type it in real quick. I think I did type that right. growthamplifiers.com/live, and tune in, subscribe to upcoming shows, get the latest resources from our guests. We have some cool things our guests give away, and just keep on staying fueled on strategies and systems that can help you amplify your business. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.